All right, for today's video review, it's been a little bit of a wait, but Wave 3 of Kingdom is here. And today we're going to be taking a look at Wave 3 Kingdom Deluxe class, Scorponok. Not, Beast Wars Scorponok, not the big Titan class city former Scorponok. But yeah, he turns into a pretty nice Scorpion mode here. Like I said before, I'm really happy that they decided to go with the, more realistic animal detail, aesthetic for these guys rather than try to stay like super strict to the Beast Wars show models, just because some of the alt modes like they looked a little bit funky in terms of like having weirdly human eyes, especially for Scorponok and Scorpion mode and stuff like that. So like I'm happy that they're going for a kind of updated look. Like these aren't masterpieces. They're not trying to show exactly what you saw on screen. They're just trying to do new, nice, updated versions of the characters, and I think it works really well. But yeah, it's got a pretty good little Scorpion mode here. Right off the bat, I should mention that he doesn't actually stand on his Scorpion legs. Like he sits on the ground, and then you can kind of just bring the legs down to meet the floor to give the illusion that he's standing on the legs. Kind of a bummer, just because like with Black Arachnia, they had her standing on the legs, and it worked out really well. So I was hoping that they could have him actually hold himself off the ground. But yeah, these ball joints on his feet are way too loose for that. Like they're fine if the only thing they're holding up is the leg itself because it's a really small piece. But yeah, they're a little bit loose and would definitely not hold any weight in terms of holding this guy up and sitting him off the ground. But that's not too big a deal. He does come with a couple accessories. He comes with his little double missile setup here and his little cyber bee, and that's adorable. I love the it was a gimmick that the old toy had, and then but like in the old toy, like part of the claw became the cyber bee wings, but in the show they just had the cyber bee come out of his claw, so they've replicated that look here, so he just goes out of the claw. But yeah, these can both store really nicely in robot mode and in Scorpion mode. There's a hole right there in each of the claws, and they just peg right in. Either accessory can go in either claw. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, nice, hidden, out of the way. I love it. Articulation in this mode, obviously I showed that all the legs have ball joints, although the middle two legs are actually conjoined. So they, like, for transformation, they like switch sides. So you can't really use that like to rotate them, but it still hinges up and down and it looks okay. The I keep almost saying crab claws. The scorpion claws here have a swivel. They just become the robot mode arms, so they can hinge in and out like that a little bit. They can hinge in and out the elbow here. Another swivel at the claw itself, and then both halves of the claw can open and close. And in the promo shots for this guy, they showed the tail being able to articulate, and it does at the top here. It's got a little ball joint at the stinger and then a hinge right here. But one of the robot mode legs kind of is inside the tail, so like you can bring the tail forward, but you have to sort of like separate it from the leg. So he does like the scorpion lunging thing, and then I guess you could conceivably like bring the leg up to meet it, so it doesn't look too weird. But yeah, it's not like one continuous fluid motion. You do have to separate the leg from where it's attached there, and then reattach it if you want to, have the tail lunge forward. But that's not too big a deal. I'll show him off here with a couple other similar buggy folks, but buggy Predacons. Here he is with Black Arachnia. And then for now, here's Thrilling 30 Waspinator. We are getting a new Waspinator. We've seen images of it. It actually looks fairly similar to this one, just, better in some ways and worse in others. So I'm excited to get a new figure, but he's more than well enough for now. But yeah, there they are together. And then just to show him off with another Scorpion, here he is with the original Beast Wars Quick Strike, who's a Fusor, of course, so is also part snake. But yeah, there you can see. They look good together. And yeah, for transformation, of course, you can leave the accessories inside the claws. Like they end up in the same place in both modes, and that's really the only place that they go. Like the only reason that they can come off, so you can like role play like him shooting the missiles or launching the cyber bee, or like put other weapons in his claws. But yeah. So first thing you want to do is we're going to handle the robot mode legs, which are kind of funkily stored underneath here. So this one just separates from the tail. You bring it out like that. And then this one, you bring this entire waist section and it kind of double hinges out and you bring it out like that. The legs are a little bit asymmetrical just at the feet here. If you notice this one, when it hinges down, the heel stays in place. So it goes through this little slot in the tail there. And the one that ends up underneath, is just one whole piece with the foot there. So that's one way that you can tell when you're transforming him to scorpion mode, like which leg ends up where. Is the one with the purple heel that stays as attached to the foot ends up underneath, and the one with the gray heel that stays as part of the whole leg assembly that goes into the tail. But yeah, you bring it down like that, and then you rotate the legs forward, and then rotate the waist forward. And we're going to leave that unclipped for right now. Bring the section with the scorpion mode head down like that, and then it unclips there and folds into the body. One thing that's worth mentioning is when you're going back into scorpion mode, it's kind of a pain to get the scorpion mode head out. Like you have to kind of like get your finger underneath it, and like that was an easier time than I have doing it most of the time. And like I don't have particularly large hands either. Like I'd say my hands are fairly small, so like if you're a collector who's got meatier fingers, then that I could see that being a real challenge for you. But for me, it's not too bad, and it's like one of those things where it's like you can't really get a grip on like where it is at the hinge either. Like it's just a little bit too tight to make that feasible. So kind of a pain, but not the end of the world. And then you just fold that up against his back. And then after you do that, because you need the waist unclipped so that you have enough like area for this panel to fold down to fold the head in and out. But after that, you can double hinge this this section up, and it kind of clips right there into place. And then we take the scorpion mode legs, and just for now, we're just folding them up like this. And then you want to widen these panels a little bit, and like so you're supposed to bring the arms down first, but I find that when the arms are up like this, it allows these panels to open up just a little bit more, so you have a bit more clearance to fold the head out. So you just fold the head up a little bit just so it's, you know, out of reach of those panels, and then you can bring the arms down, which kind of close those panels a little bit, and then you can bring the head the rest of the way up and then close these panels like that to make his chest, and bring the arms down the rest of the way. So it's like a few motions that sort of have to happen at once. Like you can bring the arms down first, but then I find like when you're pulling the head out, his little like, you know, spikes that stick out in front of his chin kind of like scrape against the panels a little bit, and I wouldn't want to like mess up the gold paint that's on them. So I generally do it that way to avoid any like rubbing of the panels. But yeah. And then for the rest of the scorpion mode legs, you want to take the two middle legs, get the tail out of the way, and fold them in, and they kind of like interlock like that. And then the top legs similarly also rotate around and interlock. And then you want to bring the whole tail section up and kind of just like fold those onto the back like that. And then you can take the two back legs and they just sit on his back like that. I generally do it so like, I mean, they don't lock anywhere, but I don't, there's like this little ridge right here, which is just like sculpted detail from where like the separations of the scorpion mode tail. I just do it so that the feet kind of sit there, so they have like a clearly defined place to go. But you know, it's a little bit up to you. But they kind of just like scrunch up back there, and yeah, there you pretty much have him in his robot mode. You can just adjust things like the elbows and the tail, and yeah, he's a pretty good little robot. Let me just adjust the height here a little bit. There we go. And yeah, he's you know, he's not the tallest robot. I mean, he's obviously got the tail thing going on, but you know, he works pretty well. Like Scorponok wasn't like super huge in the show or anything like that. Like he probably wasn't this small in comparison to some of the other guys. Like he's I mean, I'll get to it when I show him off in comparisons and stuff like that. But he is a little bit shorter than I was expecting him to be. Articulation wise, his head is on a ball joint here, so you can get it to look up a little bit, and then otherwise can just rotate from side to side. The tail here is still on that hinge, and then still on the ball joint here. You can bring it back more if you want the tail to be like more, you know, like arching up all the way, but then you know it's not securing the legs in place, and like. Yeah, I don't know. I just find it better to like lock everything in place like this, or lock everything. I mean, it all has a place to sit. It looks a little weird with like the tail coming up and then having that bend right there, but like the tail in the show always came from like this section of his back rather than like from his butt area. So I guess that's probably what they're trying to replicate, but like you can still clearly tell that the rest of the tail is there. So it's a little weird, but I think it works well enough. The shoulders for transformation, they can bend up like that, which I find to be kind of helpful in some poses. You know, it's a different sort of vibe to that hinge there. Like if you want him in like an attacking pose or something, that it has him flaring up his shoulders a little bit. can be useful. But yeah, he does also have that. And then swivel, of course, a bicep swivel, a hinge at the elbow, goes pretty much 90 degrees. Also rotation at the wrists. And then the claws can open and close, of course, with the Cyber Bee and the missiles and stuff in there. He's got a waist joint. It does tend to bump into some of the stuff back here a little bit, but you can get it to move at least a little bit. It's just not a whole lot. It's really more for transformation, honestly, than articulation. But yeah, for the hips, they can go forward, can go back, can go out to the side before they start to bump into the scorpion mode legs there. He's got a thigh swivel. He's got a pretty deep knee bend, just because like one of the shins ends up kind of like folding in like that for transformation, and it's just the same piece for both sides. So kind of nice. And then he's got ankle tilt, and then the feet, they're a little bit different. Like they can both fold down like this, but one of them takes the heel with it and the other one doesn't. So I don't know. You can kind of get that to work to your advantage. But yeah, no, he's a fairly well articulated figure. Nothing crazy, but definitely gets the job done. Most of the joints feel like tight enough. The only joints I wish were a little bit tighter are just like the ball jointed sections where the red piece is attached. Like the legs in particular, the ball joints could be a little tighter. I kind of wish this was a little tighter too, but like they're all such small pieces that are like really lightweight, so it doesn't really matter that much. It's just kind of like when you're moving it around, you definitely feel that the ball joint is looser, but it's not ultimately very consequential. But yeah, I'll show him off with the guys I did before and some more. Here he is again with Kingdom Black Arachnia, and then Thrilling 30 Waspinator. And yeah, they look good together. Like you can sort of see here, like he's a little bit shorter than the other guys, but I think it works relatively well. And then here he is again with Quick Strike. I'd like a new Quick Strike figure at some point. I feel like they're probably going to do it at some point, but like honestly, they don't really need to change a whole lot about this guy. Just like basically do this a pretty similar engineering, just give him a better head sculpt, do it in opaque plastic rather than clear, and maybe give him a few extra points of articulation, and that's pretty much all you need. Like he's a pretty good figure and pretty accurate to the show. But yeah, then let's bring him on here with here just to show off the height here. So here's our shortest deluxe from Kingdom, and then getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, so you can see he's still a pretty short deluxe, but he kind of is on the range of like the Alicon rather than like Cliff Jumper. So like there's definitely guys that are smaller than him still. So he's not super tiny, but he is pretty significantly shorter than like someone like Sideswipe, who I'd say is a pretty average size deluxe, especially nowadays. So just so you can get a kind of height idea there. Here he is with his wave mates. Here's Wingfinger and Trax, who I'll be looking at next. And yeah, I mean, they don't have much business being with each other, but they look good together. And then last but not least, let's show him off with the boss man. Here he is with Kingdom Beast Wars Megatron, who's definitely not in frame, but yeah, I mean, Scorponok is supposed to be much shorter than Megatron, so that works perfectly well. But yeah, no, he's a pretty good figure. I love the Scorpion mode, even though it doesn't stand on its legs. The robot mode is pretty good. It's like some weird proportional stuff, which is honestly not as bad when you're handling it in person. Like those images of it really made it look like he's just like cut off right here. Like he's got this weird squared off body. But no, it works pretty well. The head sculpt is pretty good. Kind of mushy detail around the mouth there, but it works well enough. And I love the accessories here with the missiles and the Cyber Bee. I just love that they store really well in both modes. They're a fun little removable accessory. It's just easy to give him good weapons and then also not have it mean that he's got like some extra accessory that you have to put off to the side half the time. I love that. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about him. I'd say he's a really good figure and still probably my favorite of the three deluxes from this wave. But yeah, not that the other ones are bad, but I just think he's a really nice figure, and I'm really happy to get more, Beast Wars Season 1 Predacons, because I feel like the whole thing with Kingdom is just like, oh, we have to make sure we get every Season 1 Maximal, and then like forget about two or three important Season 1 Predacons, like, balance it out a little bit more, guys. I'm sure we'll get those in some way, shape, or form at some point. There's been, rumors about a Tarantulas being in the works, and like supposedly Pterosaur is happening as an Air Razor remold. But you know, would have been nice to see them maybe an Inferno as a instead of G1 Inferno as a Voyager. I'm sure we'll get them at some point, but you know, is a little bit unbalanced right now. But yeah, that's neither here nor there because we did get Scorponok, which is a figure that we've needed for a long time since the original Scorponok is like way out of scale and doesn't really look that much like the show model. And we really haven't gotten any other toys of him like ever. So, you know, there's like that. Transformers RID 2015 Paralon figure who's got a head sculpt who's like very inspired by Beast Wars Scorponok, but that was pretty much your only option. Now we actually have a figure that is of that character, and he's pretty good, and I'm into it. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Without further ado, here we have Transformers Kingdom Scorponok.